Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Emotional Entrepreneur Show with Summer and
Jen.
Hey, everyone. We are so excited to be here with you on this Tuesday. What a lovely Tuesday it is, and we have such an exciting show for you. We're going to be talking about embracing vulnerability to support entrepreneurial success. I mean, I would just say embracing vulnerability as a leader is so important. Oh my gosh. I'm looking out my beautiful window here and it's starting to snow.
Oh, how pretty.
It is really gorgeous. I wish I could turn the camera around, but okay, we got a show to do. So I digress. Squirrel, right? So thank you for being here. Invite your friends. This is such an important topic. I think it's so imperative to be real, to be vulnerable, to show that you are human, that we have missteps, we make mistakes, whatever you want to call it, that you can talk about those things. They can be learning situations. I mean, just having a flub. I mean, do you know how many times I have flubbed throughout my life? I have had a misstep, but I've always turned it into some form of lesson, wisdom. It may not have been easy in the beginning. It may have taken some time to digest and understand. It may not have been the exact road that I wanted to go down or maybe situation I wanted to be in, but guess what? It was a lesson and something I was able to bring forward and really cultivate as a learning situation, which for me, I think that was really healthy. Jen, have you been in those situations where things just didn't go as planned and you turned them around as learning lessons and were able to apply them and also able to talk about them? I know you've done
Oh my
this.
gosh. I just noticed. Can you hear me better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's actually the same.
It sounds the same. Oh,
Okay, that's better. I think that's better.
it's better?
Yeah, I
I've been
think
having issues with it a couple days. Okay. As long as you can hear me.
I
But
can hear you.
to answer your question, yes, of course. There are times when you have things mapped out or you have like, okay, this is how I want this to go, or this is, you can plan all you want, especially with event planning.
Oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
you just had an event. Yeah. And we've
Yeah.
had events and goodness knows.
Yeah, anything can happen. And so I think the biggest lesson that I have learned over the years, and even to now, it's just like I just don't freak out.
Yeah.
Even when there's this different, life events or whatnot, that's just my personality. I'm just kind of that person. Like everything could be burning, and I could just be like, okay, stay calm. What do we need to do now? What's the next step? And then, what do you got to do now? What is the best thing that you could do at this moment? And then you do learn from it. You realize, okay, how do I use this to better plan for next time? Or you also realize and learn, okay, I don't like that. I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. And that's okay. I think that's okay. I think sometimes we go through those experiences in order for us to discover what is it that we enjoy doing, what we like doing, what didn't work, what worked, or sometimes you're like, I really like that part of it. I'm trying to think of it. When we did GridCon, there was somebody that discovered that they really, it was like something with speaking or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was just this interesting like aha moment for somebody that realized, I really liked it. I didn't think I was going to do that, but I really enjoyed doing XYZ. I cannot remember what it was. So it goes both ways. It teaches you, it allows you to discover what it is that you might want to lean into more. And it also teaches you like, yeah, you know what? That wasn't so great. I don't think I want to do that again. And I think we have to learn how to give ourselves permission to walk away from some ideas or walk away from, okay, that didn't work so great. It's okay. I think sometimes, people may feel bad. And I'm like, no, this is about growth. This is about learning and being honest with yourself.
Absolutely. And that vulnerability and being able to show that side of you. I know that many leaders, many entrepreneurs, we want to show strength. We want to show success. We want to show that we can overcome conflict. And yes, we can. But it's also really great to be authentic and show imperfection because people relate to that.
Right.
Why? I mean, everybody we're not perfect. We're human. That just in itself says lack of perfection. And it's not that we don't strive for that. It's just that we're going to have that misstep. And guess what? That's so important to have those. And I think a lot of times, you know, in the last decade, I've seen a lot of parents, and people will probably go, oh my gosh, here she goes. But parents like want to scoop up their kids and rescue them from those missteps or from those
Right.
mishaps. And I get it. Like, I totally get that. But sometimes you have to let them gently fall, right? And be able to get back up, because that builds resilience. That also shows them that they're not going to win every time. They're not going to be an absolute success in everything, but they can find something that works for them, that they're better at. And that's okay, because I'm not a physicist. I'm not a mathematician, but I found something that I loved, that I was passionate about, that I feel like I'm good at, right? Whether or not that's creating spaces, safe spaces for conversation, for conferences, for, to be a doctor of clinical psychology, to work with people, to build communities. That's what I love. And I wouldn't have found that if I didn't try different things, if I didn't have a
Mhm.
misstep. But sharing that along the way was so important. And sometimes I really needed to let that ego go to show that I wasn't perfect, because I'm
Right.
not perfect. And I don't think that, it's okay not to be, but my mom also let me make mistakes. And she said, you know what? That's okay. We're all going to make them, but keep moving forward. But if we don't make those mistakes and not learn how to move forward, that's where we're doing disservice, not only to ourselves, to the ones that we're around, or to the ones that we're trying to lead. Jen?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fear behind a lot of it.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a parent, that's,
Yeah.
helicopter parenting, or trying to
Snowplow
rescue.
parenting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like you're rescuing your kid for, and I have a 13-year-old now. I've been a
Yeah.
single mom, so I'm kind of like, get up, walk it off. It's all right, you're fine. Because I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, and then what happened behind the scenes. This has been.
Oh gosh. Woo.
I was just like, yeah, you'll figure it out. But one of the things that I think I'm really happy about when I will tell CJ something, and it could be bad news, it could be something very difficult or whatnot, and then I'll ask him, like, how are you feeling, with what I told you or what I just said, and
Mhm.
he's like, fine. And it could be like something really, really dramatic and life changing, and
Right.
in a bad way too. And he'd be
Yeah.
like, he's like, well, you were calm when you told me. He's
Mhm.
like, so I didn't freak out. And I remember I was driving home. We were driving home. I picked him up from a church function, and it just really, I was like giving myself a pat on the back. Because I was like that. And I told him, I said, well, let that be a lesson, that how you give information or how you act is going to be a dramatic effect on somebody else that you're telling it to. I said, can you imagine if I came to you and I went like this? Oh my God, I have to tell you something. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine if I did that? I said, your composure, your positioning, everything would have been so different. You would have felt that frantic energy and you would have freaked out.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that. I said, I told you in a very calm manner. And so, lesson is like, we have to pay attention to how we're approaching things.
Yeah.
And, so I said, then I turned it into like, okay, so when you do sales, I go, if you're, you're always going to be, a lot of people say, I'm not in sales. Everybody's in sales. You are talking about a favorite restaurant. You're talking about a favorite book. You're talking about the favorite food that you ate at that one place. Like, you are always selling. So don't think that just because you're not quote unquote a salesperson, you are in sales. And so, I was telling him, so if you're trying to be convincing or trying to tell somebody something, like, pay attention to the energy that you're saying it, because that will have a dramatic effect on how that other person receives that information. But, with this whole parenting thing, it's like, where does that come from? Like, is there a fear of, what is that fear? Is it that they're going to fall? Yeah, they are. That's life. But they're not going to build that resilience if they're not given the opportunity to fall and troubleshoot it and figure it out in their brain. Like, okay, well, what do I do? For me, I'm just kind of like, well, what do you think you should do? I'm asking, my son, like, what do you think you should do? What's the best thing you can do now? Because I'm like, I don't want to give you the answer. I mean, I could, but I want him to learn that, because, you know, when our kids grow, it's not like I'm going to be sitting next to him when he's at his job. So like, yeah,
Oh my
no.
God. Wait, I need to interject here. Did you hear about that whole thing with parents going to their kids' first job interview with them?
Yeah, we talked about this.
Oh God. Yeah. Did we talk about
We talked about it a couple episodes ago.
craziness?
Yeah. And
Wow.
I have a friend who owns a UPS store.
Yeah.
And we are constantly talking about the turnover, how, you know, the market is just so different. He has a hard time finding reliable people. He's
Yes.
constantly having to get rid of people. And then this is the part that was interesting. I was like, is it an age thing? Is it a demographic thing? Is it, he says, no, Jen, I don't know what, no, he gave me an answer I thought was interesting, but he said, it doesn't matter what age. It's not just the young people. It was older people too. He said, it didn't matter what ethnic background. He said it had to do with the minimum wage range. It's almost like you just kind of don't care. There was no ownership, because it was just like, because like it's whatever, it's a job. You didn't have ownership, and you didn't really care about it. So these people would be going in and just like doing like, you know, a half-assed job, like not even calling because they couldn't come in. I mean, just the craziest things. I was just like, I don't even know how he deals with it. But he told me, but going back to what you're saying, he told me about how, oh yeah, he's like, I had this one mother came into the store and said, oh, can you interview my kid? They're looking for a job. And then not only did that happen, she went to the interview.
Oh my word.
What the heck? It's like, not only, I mean, I get it. It's one thing if like you're just kind of inquiring, like, hey, are you guys hiring? My kid might be interested. But it was like she took ownership of the whole thing and was like, you know, my child is looking for a job. And then so, you know, it wasn't like, okay, child, come and talk to the owner and ask. It was just like she did everything. And then she came to the interview, and so my friend's telling me this, and I'm just like, that's weird. And he's like, yeah.
Okay.
No.
So I need to ask, when she came to the interview and she sat in on the interview, I guess, right?
I think so.
What were his thoughts? I mean, about, and unfortunately, you know, sometimes that reaction that we have as maybe the business owner would be like onto that kid who's actually trying for the job, and not on the parent who's actually creating the turmoil, right? Or the bad situation or the negative situation. What did he think?
It was just weird.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
you know, he's my age, and we're a little, maybe like a year older, a couple years older, but it was just like, we're just like, this is strange. Like, what is, the thing was like, what is going on today? Because, you know, even us, when we think about going to get that first job, you did that all on your own. I didn't have my parents go looking for a job for me. In fact, they didn't want me to work when I was a teenager.
Wow.
And I remember, yeah, they wanted me to focus. I wanted to make money. And I was just like thinking, when I'm hearing this whole story, I'm like, who does that? That is so weird. We didn't do that growing up. We went to the mall. We filled out those applications. We were excited to make $4.25.
Right, $4.25.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And on top of that, we didn't get a tip for like giving you your drink at the window, right, of a drive-through, which, that's a different story all in its own.
Yeah. So it was just weird, but you know, I don't think he didn't hire the kid, but it's just strange. It's strange to see how things have changed, but yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how that became a thing. Let my parent, like, yeah. Oh, Bibiana said, I would pay my parents not to come.
Right? Oh, right. That would be so embarrassing. Now, I'm going to address some of these, but I do want to get back to like the vulnerability, you know, and what that means as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who is leading a team potentially, or a business, and how that really impacts their workforce. But I think, you know, when you're speaking about a parent, in this case, going to an interview, or even a parent like jumping in and scooping up, that's why they call it snowplow, kind of scooping up that kid, right? to secure some safety for that child, or even that teen or that adult even, I mean, it goes into adulthood for some of these parents, and I get it, but I think it has to do with values, fear, ego, boundaries that they can't set, reasonable boundaries, and they overstep because they think that this is the way to keep a child safe. And in actuality, it's doing somewhat of a disservice, because then they don't know how to get up on their own. They don't know the steps to take to go fill out an application at the mall, or get online to do, an application online. It's interesting. I mean, I know that when I was trying to get into colleges, there were some that wanted to interview me, so I needed to study. And my mom's like, I don't know what you're going to do, but if it were me, I would be getting note cards. I would be looking in the mirror. I would be going over some questions you think they're going to ask, and going over those over and over and over and over again. I mean, it's the modeling, right? Like you were talking about earlier, Jen. You told your son something that could have been traumatizing to him, but the way that you told your son the information was calm, was, we'll get through this. It was supportive. It was, so his reaction or his response to that wasn't a reaction or traumatized reaction. It wasn't like, oh my God, mom, oh my God. It was, you were a good team together, because the way that you told him also sparked a response versus a reaction, right? Which could have led to some trauma. And so, or what if, or what if, or what if, right? Which could have gone down this road of being very nervous and very scared and very anxious. And so I think a lot of this comes, well, I don't think, I know after years of working in the human services field, the way we model for people and for children, it's huge. So when we talk about vulnerability and we're modeling that vulnerability, we're creating a safe space as leaders for those that work in the workforce, or for us in teams as employees. We're creating that safe psychological space where people can actually express ideas. They can express that they've made a mistake. And it really takes some of that ego out of it, saying, oh my gosh, I have to be perfect. I have to show that I'm perfect. When we create these spaces, it actually lends to better, a better workforce community, a closer workforce community, because the ego's taken out. We can share these kinds of things, and we can be vulnerable. But when you have, if you're constantly showing perfection, which is unrealistic, you're not really creating that safe, open, and honest space and authentic space for your employees or your workforce. Thoughts?
Right. No, I think I agree about not creating, that space. And I don't know why we feel like we have to, well, no, I do. I think we want to be accepted at the end of the day. I think that's what it is, or that we got it together.
Yeah.
But I think this whole topic of vulnerability has been around, like, so much in the more recent years, that people are learning and seeing that, no, it's okay that I mess up. In fact, that, more people are embracing it. And it's becoming more and more common that people are just being more authentic. They realize that works better. It's more, it's a way that people will connect with you in a better way, versus like, they got it all together, everything looks so perfect, because people aren't relating to that. So I think it seems to be more mainstream more and more, when, granted, there are still people that, have to let go of that whole image that, I have to show that I have it together. But I think with the rise of being able to pay attention to mental wellness, and, mental wellness days, and mental health, and all those things, I think it came along with that ride of understanding, like, hey, just be yourself. And it's okay to, that you don't have it together. It's okay to talk about the things that went wrong. It's okay to, have discussions that, you don't have all the answers. And so it's become more accepted. And and that's a good thing, because it's hard to try to just, put this persona that everything is always so great. But then again, too, because we are on the, up and up, then it becomes like this thing, like, something's going on. Like, how many times have you and I had that discussion? Like, there's it feels off.
Yes.
You can't put your finger on it, but you can see somebody, even just through a video or their post, and you're just like, yeah, they're putting stuff out there, but something's off. And later
Yeah.
on, eventually, you have a discussion with somebody, a heart to heart, like behind closed doors, and then you find out, yeah, this is what's going on. And so
Right.
that's the crazy part. What's the point of hiding? You might as
Yeah.
well not, because we can see it. We can see it, we can feel it, but we just don't have the evidence and the confirmation yet. But we know there's something. So imagine we're all feeling it, and
Yeah.
then it makes it kind of weird, because it's like, man, just tell us what's going on, like, so your village, your community can rally around you and just support you, versus you trying to be in the on an island by yourself trying to figure it out, because nobody's asking you to be perfect. Now if you got family members and a mom that was dominant, a dominating figure, like those are different issues. When you grew up with that kind of thing, I can relate to
Like,
that.
where are we talking from?
Yeah, I can relate to that. I can totally relate to that. But then you get to a point where you're just like, screw it.
Yeah.
Screw it. This is like, I'm who am I doing this for?
Right.
So you just have to get to that point where you realize, like, is this really bringing me joy if I keep this up? Like, why am I even doing this? And sometimes it just takes stopping and pausing and be like, this just doesn't make any sense. This is stupid. This is crazy. Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Because eventually, you could crack. You could
Yeah.
totally crack and just buckle under all this pressure. Whereas opposed to, like, just, I think it comes down to self-love too. It
Yeah.
really comes down to self-love, where you're like, you know what, I'm accepting myself as a human, flawed, broken human being.
Yeah.
And we all are. And then it
All of
takes,
us.
yeah, we all are. And so if we remember that about ourselves, we also need to remember that about others. And then we have compassion. And then
Mm.
it's almost like this, hey, let's just accept that we all mess up. Let's just accept that we're all just trying to do our best lifing. and and let's be, compassionate towards each other. But if we did more of that, I feel like there would be less pressure to have to put on this persona of like, I got it all together. Like, that's just too much energy trying
Yeah.
to pretend like everything is, perfect. And especially for, entrepreneurs. The best conversations that I've appreciated, and granted, they've happened in, groups or masterminds I've been in, like, we keep it real. It's just like, yeah, it's hard. Like, or, we hear like, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't even know how I'm going to pay for this because nothing's coming
Yeah.
in. We've all had those. Well, not all, but, some of
Many
us,
of us.
yeah,
Yeah.
many of us have had those conversations with close friends in this entrepreneurial space.
Yeah.
So it anytime you're in those conversations, it's like this relief. You feel like this safe incubator where it's like, I'm so glad we could just be honest with each other. No,
Yes.
it's not going great. No, it sucks right now. Like, oh, I'm so frustrated. I mean, we've had those moments, and to be able, it comes down to this. It's so freeing. It is so freeing to just be honest with yourself and with others. I mean, I'm not saying put all your dirty laundry out there and declare the world, but have that community, have those people that you can be honest with, so you're not trying to pretend all by yourself. Because unfortunately, I'll end with this so I can turn back to you. But I've seen stories where there were a lot of there was this one coach. I was at this conference in Oklahoma City several years ago. And in the middle of the conference, like the person that was running the event just stopped and paused, and she said, this coach, I don't know her, but I saw this online, and she just killed herself. And it was one of those situations where, she's beautiful. It looked like she had a successful business. It was a coach. She was a coach. And it's just like, what was going on? What was going on? Like, all that pressure to keep it up, that it just finally, broke her. And it was sad. And I'm thinking, man, it didn't have to happen that way. So it's really about, staying mentally healthy and accepting, flaws and all, and then being honest with yourself, and then having the right people to go to when you do need to be honest about, like, or just venting. Sometimes it's just venting. Sometimes it's not all like super, super heavy. Sometimes it's venting the dumbest things. And Summer and I do that all the time.
All the time. All the time. And it was like, it's nice to have that person. And I'm so lucky to have Jen to be able to have that venting session, or have that working session, or have that, co-creative session, or, it's have those people in your life because it does help. Go on.
Oh no, that was it. It was
yeah.
it. It was oh, and then when we do have that venting session, and then we laugh.
Oh my
That's
God.
the fun part. Or sometimes she'll tell me something, and I'm just like, "What's my usual answer?" Okay, that is so stupid. That's usually my answer. And
I laugh.
not
And we
some
can
are
say
stupid.
that.
The situation of what she's having to endure because of somebody else.
Oh my
That's
God.
that's stupid. And then I'm just like, that's just lame. Forget it. Just let's move on. It's not. I'm just like, it's just like, we laugh about it because it's like, at the end of the day, I just think like, okay, that person's going through something. I don't know why they had to say that to you, or I don't know why they're acting that way. Like, it's just lame.
What is going on, man? Come on. I'm like one of the nicest people, seriously.
You
Right?
are, seriously. I don't know. I know. It's like you're a magnet for these weirdos.
Oh my God. And sometimes I'm like, maybe I'm just too nice. So it's just like,
And there's always a story. And I'm just
there's
like,
always a
why?
funny story.
What is it now? Like, why
But
is
that's
this
the
happening to
humor,
you?
man, right? Because I think it's just working in the line of work that I do. It's like whether or not I'm in a grocery store, or if I'm like at a certain event, or if I'm like all of a sudden I got like these people asking me these questions. It's like you walk in a room and it's like, oh, can I talk to you about that? Or can I? And I'm like, yeah, sure. You know, where they just naturally start talking and they know you, or like, and it all starts coming out. And I'm like, okay, okay. I just wanted to be here to have a
Why
good
is it
time.
now? Why is
Oh
it
man.
you?
Oh my God. I'm serious. So what I will say is I have worked in the human services field for years, like decades now, right? And so to say that you don't have a problem is so out in left field. Like, we as humans come with issues, right? And you may be reluctant to talk about those issues, but being vulnerable, being able to talk about those issues does, as Jen said, and we talked about this, creates psychological safety for you, for those around you. It lets people know what you're going through, but it also lets people know that you're not perfect, right? It lets people get connected to you, feel aligned with you in some way, and it inspires them too, right? Like, you came through it. Why do we like stories? Why do we like, and I'm going to say this, why do we like phenomenology or lived experience? Understanding somebody's subjective reality. Why? Because it's their story. How did they overcome something? How did they get through something? That's why we like TEDx, man. You know, it's a story and a lesson. That's why we like certain masterminds, because people who teach those have a story too to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And we listen to those stories, those shared personal stories of struggle and resilience and overcoming. Look at the Super Bowl. What commercials do they play there? Oh my gosh, a little puppy lost. Guess what? A horse found the puppy and took it home. You know, it was like, oh my God, it's just so hard. Oh, I love it. Right. So we're looking at these commercials. They pay, millions of dollars for a 30, a 15, 20-second commercial. And guess what? They're about stories of resilience, stories of loss and coming back together, stories of connection. It's about humans being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And we attach to that and we get it. And guess what? Your product, your brand soars because people are like, I relate to that.
Right.
I relate to that. And so when you can do that as a leader, as a business owner, and tell these stories and not feel like you're alone in that story, because you will never be alone. People will actually come and say, I really got that. You know what? That was great for me to hear. Or thank you so much for telling your story, because now I know that I wasn't the only person dealing with A, B, or C, right? But I loved how you came through that. And I think that authenticity really shows that resilience, shows that honesty, shows that vulnerability, shows that, again, that you're human. It's relatable. So don't be shy about being vulnerable, because as a leader, as an entrepreneur, it really does help create those safe spaces. It helps create your brand, and people like that about your brand, that, oh my gosh, you did this and came all the way here and made it to this point in your life. And thank you for your story, right? People are always talking about books or about, a TEDx or about a commercial they saw or about a movie because there was something in there that they could attach to, something in there that was relatable. So it helps build a loyal fan base, customer base. It helps you when you are vulnerable, when there's that authenticity and that transparency. So don't omit it just because, we might have gotten messages. I got these messages growing up from my dad, like, be strong, just let it go and just go for it, power through it, right? It's like, yeah, I do some of that. And I catch myself doing like getting back up, being really strong. But I don't want you to forget that we are humans made with emotions. It doesn't mean you have to fall apart. It means recognize the emotion, understand it, work through it, and then be able to move on. But it's okay to tell the story too. It's okay to be vulnerable. Any last words, your nugget, Jen?
Ah, hmm. Gosh, I didn't even think my nugget. I just thought of one right now. I think like my nugget would be like, if there's like a moment where you have the opportunity to accept help, ask for it. I think so often, especially women, when we have a very strong personality, we have a hard time asking for that help, and then we have this mindset of, and it doesn't mean that you can't do it. But there's this mindset of like, no, I got it. I can do it all. Or we don't want to burden other people.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, yeah, but then you're tired. You're tired and you're running around like a headless chicken and then all this craziness where people are actually offering, they're asking like, oh, can I do something for you? But we're so used to saying, oh, it's okay. I got it. And then you're there talking about like, I'm so tired. So if that's what you're doing, stop and pause and think about like when help is being offered to you, please accept it.
Yeah.
Just take it or ask and or just sleep. Yeah.
I used to sleep as a teen. I think it's just normal after school. Like you want to sleep as a teen, right? Because you've got all these hormones, you've got all these things going on. Then you want to sleep. And sometimes, yeah, it's sleep. And then I get it, Jen. I love that nugget because a lot of times for me, and I know for me, I'm a caregiver. So I've been in this industry as a woman, you're more of a caregiver a lot of times. And so even when I went to the emergency room last week, I drove myself. My husband was home. And he was like, yeah, just go. And he's a Marine too. Like he's, just go. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take myself to the emergency room, but you might get a call from me, right? Because they might put me on medicine that I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a driver, right? So I was just like, oh my God. But that's like, because that's so deep in me. Like, I don't want to ask for help, right? I can do this alone. And so sometimes you just got to let it go and go, yeah, I need you to do this. I need you to let everything go to help me today.
Yeah.
It's okay to do that.
Right. What's your nugget?
My nugget is this: overcoming the fear of judgment. Sometimes it can be really difficult because you think you're going to be judged. You think that people are going to look at you differently. They're going to see you differently. Let it go. Start little, start slowly, because I think we perceive, the rejection, the criticism, all of these things that could come out of it. But in reality, what really does come out of it is people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that about you. Oh my gosh, it's amazing that you came through that. And that helps build trust. That helps build trust with your brand, with your customers. It creates loyalty and it creates, support by your workforce as well.
Right.
So that's my nugget. So thank you everybody for joining us today. This is a great show. I really enjoy being here with you every Tuesday. If you know somebody who needs to hear this, please pass on the information. You can find the information on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And we will see you next week. Thank you so much, Jen. And we will dance this out as we do every week. So let's get this party started. Let's see. You know what? I think it's just me and these. I don't know why it's not starting. There it is. right, bye everybody.
You get loaded in here.
I know, I tried. I got to figure it out. So, bye everyone. Yeah, I do. Take care.